with a K. So excited to be with you this warm summer evening. You know, we are a weekly radio broadcast where we empower individuals for positive living because a negative mind will never give you a positive life. We are a safe outlet where guests can share their stories of how they have overcome challenges to live their desired life. Storytelling is awesome, and all of us have a story to tell. Our guests share personal life stories from their lived perspective. Everyone is born into a once-upon-a-lifetime story. We're just looking for our happily ever after. Well, hello, beautiful people. It's been a while, but I'm happy to be back with you, and I did miss you, honestly. I was traveling overseas to be with my one and only. Yes, to celebrate our 44th wedding anniversary. And it was truly, truly magical. I know Sydney is listening into the show, so hi, Sydney, and I send my love. Also to the many lovely friends or family that I had pleasure of connecting with who may be listening in the UK, Mozambique, or even Bali. I send them my love as well. My cousin Pendy, my friends Phil and Sarah and Tanya, Alex, Danilo, Tahani, who wrote the song, Slow Down. I had a chance to meet her while I was in London. Jada, Arnett, Carlise, and Ansha. I mean, there'll be many more. And to the amazing couple we met on the train so randomly who lived in Bermuda many years ago. If you're listening, here is your shout out. Connect with me on Facebook. It's Been Said Radio to remind me of your names. I'm sorry I forgot them, but you know what? I'm thinking about you. Well, as the weeks progress, I will share bits and pieces of my amazing time and my trip. Well, as your host, tonight's conversation is one I believe will stay with you long after the program ends. Our guest, Maxine Brown, brings a story of resilience shaped by generational trauma, personal struggle, and remarkable strength. From a childhood influenced by instability and mental health challenges to navigating love, loss, and survival. In the face of so much. You know, Max's journey, as she liked to be called, is deeply moving and incredibly powerful. But it's not just a story of hardship. It's about transformation. It's about rising, rebuilding, and ultimately finding purpose through pain. So settle in, because this conversation is about honesty that is powerful and necessary. So welcome, Max. Please greet the beautiful people of It's Been Said.
Thank you, Kat. Good evening, everyone. Wherever you're listening, thank you for being here. I'm so glad to be here.
Oh, yes, and we are excited to have you here. And so stay tuned, beautiful people, for this wonderful, exhilarating story. So you know I always begin with my monologue. And my monologue is called Why the Stones. During my recent holiday in the UK, Sydney and I had the wonderful experience of traveling by train. Some long journeys to Plymouth, and then some shorter ones like just to London. While waiting at the station, I became fascinated at the rocks on the tracks. And like AI had read my mind, literally, a video popped up on my YouTube that explained the rocks. Imagine that. After looking at it, I came up with an analogy that I would like to share with you. You know, beneath those massive steel rails and heavy wooden ties for the train to run on, and around these tracks are stones. Millions of them. They are rough, gray, jagged stones, and they stretch for hundreds and hundreds of miles. But why stones? That supports the most advanced, high-powered speed trains, and it's on a loose pile of rocks. Why not bolt the rails to a solid concrete road? Well, simply put, the rocks protect the trains from sinking into the earth. The train is heavy. Millions of pounds worth of steel, cargo, and people. That weight with the pressure will crush the ground below, and the train would buckle and eventually sink in the earth and then derail. Well, the name of those rocks or stones are called track ballast, ballast, and their job is to act as a cushion. It takes the immense concentrated weight of the train and spreads it over a wide area, so the ground underneath does not get crushed. Believe it or not, the tracks are not fixed to the ground. They are floating on the stones. The friction and flexibility of the stones absorb the vibration of the roaring train. Now, if you look at the stones, you're going to wonder why those specific stones. When you pick up the stones, and I haven't done because I haven't been on railroad tracks, but they will hurt your hand. They are sharp, jagged, and ugly. They're not smooth or round like river or sea pebbles. Imagine if you stepped literally on marbles or ball bearings. What's going to happen? You're going to slide. Well, I know that because while I was in the UK, we visited a beach in Folkestone, Kent, that had pebbles, large pebbles, and it was hard to keep my balance on those pebbles on a beach. You see, if smooth stones were used, the train's vibration would push them and they would roll away. So engineers use crushed stones that have been smashed into sharp, angular shapes. When these stones are packed together, they do not roll. They interlock. Their sharp edges connect, creating a solid, immovable mass that still allows for a little flexibility. The large, screaming train does not slide even on corners. Now, another plus is that they fight the two biggest enemies of the railway: water and weeds. Soil and concrete are impacted by rain, but rocks are porous. Water goes into the rocks and goes away from the tracks, and the ground is now dry and solid. And you do not see a jungle on the tracks, as the sharp rocks make it difficult for plants to take root and ruin the stable foundation. Stones act as a weight bearer, a drainage system, and a weed killer. Now, this phenomenon got me thinking about how this describes how close-knitted societies and communities and even families can work together to support individuals and causes. Think about it. Our life itself, the decisions and the experience are like the train on the tracks. Sometimes those decisions are heavy. They're fast-moving, and you need a stable force for you as a person or a cause to function properly. You will need these paths and tracks be ready to support you. So along come the rocks. These are the persons you will need to depend on. And like the rocks, they are not perfect. We are shaped by our past, our experiences that give us distinct characters and resilience. And some of it has caused us to have some jagged edges. And sometimes we don't look so pretty. But when all of us and all of them are put together, they interlock and provide the immovable mass to keep you on your journey. A weight bearer. But it doesn't stop there. When the storms of life come with the torrents of rain, those same rocks absorb the water and washes it away, so the stabilizing force of your journey is not affected. Finally, those weeds, those self-destructive thoughts and negative influences are not allowed to take root, that will throw you off your destination, because those rocks give positive energy to cheer you on and support you to continue. I love this analogy as it speaks to us as humans, that we are all made of the same substance, but different in our jaggedness. But when we are together, our jagged edges interlock, and we become a force of stability in our community, our society, and our families. So, beautiful people, let's be jagged rocks to support others and be thankful for the rocks that have supported us on our life's journey. So that's my monologue for tonight, beautiful people. The next time you're at a railway station, I think you're going to look at those rocks a little different. Okay? Indeed, indeed. So you know what I do. It's been a while, but I open up the telephone lines, and I'm wondering if you beautiful people, I'm sorry, you're beautiful people. It's been a while since I've said that. If there's anyone who would like to call and talk about maybe something that has supported you along your life's journey. Maybe you want to give someone a shout out, or you just want to share some positive vibes or gratitude. Our phone lines are open at Magic 102.7 FM on 1027 or 1-888-257-9086. And you know what? I'm going to do something different. I'm going to keep the lines open. So if while our guest is talking, you have a burning question, I normally wait until the end, and some of you don't get through. But I'll be mindful of the time that if you have a question for our guest tonight, Max, you just call and I will make sure you get through. I'll let her finish her thought and then we'll go to your question. So you know the number, and if you're calling from overseas, again, 1-888-257-9086, or if you're calling from Bermuda, it's 297-1027. So I don't see the phones ringing, so you know what that means. We go straight into the interview. Let me see. I first met Max at a panel on mental health. And let me tell you, I was so impressed by her presentation. Unbelievable. I said, who is this young lady? I mean, she was so gifted and so poised. She was so polished. She spoke so fervently and passionately about mental health for young people, and she spoke of her experience with her children. I just had to get to know her, and then when I did, she gladly said she would come on the radio show to tell her story. So I am so happy to be here, and once again, Max, welcome to Hits Been Sailing. As we always do, we start from the beginning. Mm-hmm. So you were not born in Bermuda.
No.
So tell us where you were born and a bit about your early family life.
Sure. Well, first of all, I just want to thank you for that monologue analogy.
Sure.
I mean, that was so beautiful.
Thank you.
I don't know if we have that same structure in the U.S., do with the stones. I'm not sure.
You don't see them on the underground, but you do have them.
I'm like, that is fascinating. And
you
then
do.
To think next time you're kind of dealing with a family member or a friend and you think, you're just a stone in the stability of my life.
hey,
you know what I mean?
Thank you for that. Yes, indeed.
So I was born in Staten Island, New York.
Okay.
I wasn't there very long, though. Probably about 2.5, 3 years.
Okay.
And then we moved to Park Slope, Brooklyn.
Okay, yeah.
That was in
familiar with Park
1993. So not the Park Slope you're all seeing now. Okay. This was Park Slope in 1993.
Okay.
Yeah, it was me and my sister and my mom.
Okay. And you were the second oldest of the two girls.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Tell us a bit about your ancestry, or your father and your mother, because you sit in front of me and you're beautiful.
Thank you. I look Bermudian, don't I?
Oh, you do. Yes. I'm trying to think. Oh, you are.
Everyone does that when I'm walking in town. They're like, "Are you so-and-so's daughter?" I said, "No, I'm not." So the reason I look Bermudian is I am biracial and mixed.
Okay.
So my mother's Puerto Rican.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And my father is Black American.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a bit about their background and how they met.
Yeah. So both my parents had a really, really difficult and unfortunate childhood. And they met because they ended up in the system in New York City. So the foster care and orphan system. Mm-hmm. My mother... my grandmother had my mother when she was 16. And she had another child a year later when she was 17.
Okay.
And she was my mother and her sister were taken in and out away from my grandmother.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sometimes she'd leave them in the apartment for days.
Wow. Okay.
My mother said she vividly remembers being so young that she'd have to take a chair to be able to reach the stove to help feed her siblings. So she was about 3 or 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And then she said she tried to feed as much as they had in the house until they'd have to go down the hallway and knock on the neighbors and say, we haven't been fed in 4 or 5 days. So this went on until Child Protective Services was called, and then they'd take her and put her in foster care, and sometimes my grandmother would get her back. And it was about, I want to say 3 or 4 years of my mom's life she was in and out of foster care. And she experienced a lot of trauma in that time.
Sure.
Because she would just be moved so much.
Indeed.
She told
Very
me,
difficult.
Yeah, she told me one year she had about 10 different moves.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so she'd come home from school and the social worker was at the door and her stuff was packed up and
off she would go.
Off she'd go.
A lot of instability.
A lot of instability. But around 9, she started to get more stability than she had ever had before because she was placed in a permanent group home.
Oh, okay.
So this is when, this is where you're going to be until you're 18 years old. They find you a home. And in that home was a woman named Susan.
Okay.
Who she became best friends with.
Oh, wow.
And they are still best friends to this day.
Really?
Yes, 50-something years later. And that woman would go on to become my aunt. So she introduced my mother and my father together. The reason my aunt was in the group home was a different reason. Similar reason, but different. My dad was one of 12 siblings.
Okay.
And when my grandmother was only 40 years old, she died of a brain hemorrhage.
Ooh.
My dad was 12. The youngest was, I think, 3, and the eldest was 16. Something like that. There was that kind of range. And in New York City, no foster care.
They'll take 12
children. They can't take 12 children. So they had to split them all up. They tried to keep, 2 or 3 together. So my aunt and another aunt ended up in the same group home as my mom.
Okay.
So my parents had this shared experience of being orphans or being, parentless and going through the system. So they shared that experience and the trauma that came with it.
Indeed.
My mother was physically abused so much in the foster care system. In fact, when people here in Puerto Rican, they ask me, "Can you speak Spanish?" And I'm conversational.
Right.
But I'm not fluent. And there's a reason I'm not fluent. My mom's first language was Spanish.
Okay.
And she would speak it to her sister. And in one particular foster care, they didn't like that because they didn't know what they were saying. And they beat her.
Just for that.
Every time she spoke Spanish, they beat it out of them, and they beat it out of them. And they beat it out of them until they couldn't not speak it anymore.
Oh, my goodness.
So when I explained to people, yes, I have a Puerto Rican mother, but I didn't grow up speaking Spanish in my household because it was beaten out of her when she was 10 years old. Yeah.
Wow, your very language, your very mother tongue has been told that we don't want to, oh my goodness, yeah. So the language for her wouldn't be something that she would share readily because it's associated with a very traumatic part of her life.
Yeah. Although I'm trying to regain that back.
Good for you.
Now taking Spanish lessons. I have a teacher in Colombia. I take lessons twice a week, and I have friends that only text and speak to me in Spanish.
That's good. Yeah. It is part of your heritage, so it's good you're trying to sort of bring it back to you, to where you are now. So your mother and father, they met through your dad's sister. Now, how long did the marriage last?
I like to say 2 years. My mom likes to correct me and say 18 months.
Okay.
She's very, very clear. We didn't make it to 2 years. Okay, Mom.
Yeah.
It was short.
Yeah. So you don't remember much about the marriage, being together? No.
I was 2 when they got divorced.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my mom had actually had a child prior to my mom and dad being married. My sister's biological father wanted nothing to do with her. Okay. So when my dad met my mom, she had already had a 3-year-old. Okay. And he decided that's going to be my child too.
Wow. Okay.
He stepped in, not just as a step parent, but that's my daughter. So, yeah. So
okay. Yeah. So he saw this as a complete family. Absolutely. Your mom and the 2 girls. Wow. Wow. So, what was your relationship like with your parents growing up? Because they did split up, but what was your relationship like that with your parents?
My relationship with my dad was amazing.
Really?
And it still is. And my relationship with my mom was very complex, challenging. Okay. And she will like to say, well, Daddy was the fun daddy because, he had you on the weekends.
Okay, so you stayed with your mom.
Correct.
She had custody of you.
So when they divorced, my mom took me and my sister to Brooklyn. Okay. My dad stayed in Staten Island, and then I think moved to Manhattan at some point because he was very unstable. And we can talk about what, because that was part of the reason they divorced. My dad he's had gambling addiction. He's got, he had money issues and all kinds of stuff linked to his trauma because he had spent time homelessness, and it was all
it played out in his adult life.
And both of them were just deeply dysfunctional and deeply traumatized people trying to coexist in something they'd never seen before. They'd never experienced marriage. They barely experienced what being a parent was like. They didn't even have that as a model. So then to try to do all this. So they didn't work out well. But my dad was there. Every time he was supposed to pick us up, he picked us up. And he told my mom, he said, even though we're getting divorced, my stepdaughter is still my daughter.
Look at that. Wow.
So when he would come to pick me up, he'd pick both of us up.
Okay.
That didn't stop.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. So from her perspective, it was, well, Daddy was taking to the movies and fun places and arcades and all that kind of stuff. So I viewed, she said, you kind of got the fun side of things with him, but I had you day to day in school. And things of that nature.
Yeah.
But my relationship with my mom was really strained because of her struggles, her own sort of internal battles and her own behaviors. I didn't understand at the time what was going on with her.
Yeah.
But I didn't like her. She was very difficult to be around.
Okay.
She was always yelling at us.
Oh,
she was always uptight.
Wow. Yeah.
She had what I now understand as severe OCD. I didn't understand that when I was a kid. I just know I was being yelled at because everything wasn't perfect.
Got it. Yeah.
So it was just constant yelling. I remember feeling like I'm walking on eggshells and I'm really young. And I just, know as soon as I get around her, if something's going to happen. And my body would just tense up.
It's a lot of fear, trauma going on.
And she was just always yelling.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So you said your daddy was like Daddy Warbucks from Annie?
Yeah. So the interesting thing is when my parents got divorced, my dad was actually not doing well financially. And it turned around like miraculously overnight.
Okay.
So,
he had this issue with money and stuff like that.
He had an issue with money. He was like a security guard, and I think he said something like he's a security guard at Macy's in Manhattan.
Okay.
And he was watching and observing some of the business people and the sales people, and he decided I could do this. And so someone took a chance on him, and he opened up a recruitment business, like a HR recruitment where you find people jobs. I know now it's like LinkedIn, or back then you had real people, like recruiters.
Yes.
There's still some left, I know, for some high profile jobs, but a lot of people are directly applying to a job. Back then they didn't do that. Okay. So anyway, someone took a chance on him and it blew up overnight. And my dad went from like rags to riches. He went from absolutely nothing to bringing in $2-3 million a year. Wow. I didn't know how much my dad made. I just knew something changed because all of a sudden we were at everything.
Wow.
When the Broadway show would come out, we were there. He was taking us to all the fun places. And then by the time I was 9, he was like taking us on cruises and
interesting. Look at that.
Yeah, it was like when my mom left him, he had nothing. I'm like, would you have stayed? If you stayed a couple of years longer, it would have been different. But
Wow. What was it like growing up in Brooklyn? Because you talked about the neighborhood and the experience there. What was that like?
Oh, it was amazing.
Yeah.
That I still, when I look back at my life, it was about 5 or 6 years were the best years of my life. So I lived on 13th Street between 5th and 6th Avenue in Park Slope. It was amazing.
Okay, explain. Give us a picture of that.
It was full of kids and every race and ethnicity, like it was a melting pot. Okay. And this was when everyone was outside. I just remember us being outside all hours of the night till the street lights came on. My mom would open the door and scream, "Maxine, Julia," and it was time to come in. But we had block parties. Okay. I never felt racism or inequality. We were all. I mean, it was considered kind of like the hood. I do remember my mom having a metal bat and having to put bars on our window. Sure. I know there was something not safe about the neighborhood. Yeah. But we had block parties. I just remember dancing all the time, and it was just this community feel, and there was so many mix of culture, but we all felt like one. It just was this camaraderie that I haven't felt ever again. Wow. In any place that I've lived. Just a huge network of friends.
Yeah. There was identity. Even though there were differences, there was identity in that neighborhood that you felt that you belonged.
Yeah, and it was even though you were in New York City, it was that next door, hey, I need a cup of sugar. It was that kind of vibe.
I'm getting the Sesame Street vibe. I don't know why.
It was.
It's like, there's Ernie and Bert, and there's
it was fun,
Oscar,
and the music and the food, and it was just I really enjoyed
stuff.
it.
Good stuff. And despite all the fact of your relationship with your mom, whatever, you were an exceptional student that you loved learning. Tell us a little bit about that, because you said from 4 years old you were reading.
Yeah, I don't even remember how I learned how to read, because I don't remember anybody teaching me. But I remember being able to read, and I remember because we had this piano. Someone had donated it to us. And I remember rushing home, and I couldn't wait to lay on that bench. And I was reading Junie B. Jones and like these chapter books when I was like 4, 3 and 4. Yeah, I don't know how I could do it, but I could. And I remember my teachers telling my mom, well, there was a few teachers who said she talks too much, and I was always getting in trouble for talking too much. It took a few teachers. I think it was my first grade teacher, Miss Crane. I went to PS 29. And she was like, I know why she's talking so much, because she's bored. Like, she's way past, like, she's figured it out.
Indeed.
She's past all the other kids, and then she's bored. So when teachers started to figure that out, I started to get placed into, like, gifted classes and things of that nature. But, yeah, and I remember just being interested in, very mature topics and, being interested in things around me. For example, we lived in, I think it was in 1910, or I think it was late 1800s, that brownstone was built. And I remember wondering, like, is there hidden history in the walls? And if I was to tried to pick at our staircase, and there was little pieces of newspaper, and I was wondering, is this a newspaper from like the 1900s? But I'd be 5, wondering how did they live back then? So it was just, I had a different perspective.
Sure, on life.
Yeah.
The world wasn't just always fun. There's a serious side about you. Curious.
Yeah, I was always exploring.
Even so, the point that you were questioning religion at a young age. Yeah. Tell us a bit about that, because you were in a Catholic school.
So I wasn't in a Catholic public school.
Okay.
But I was raised Catholic.
Okay.
So I was baptized, I had my communion. It's very typical in Puerto Rican families to be Catholic.
Okay.
So,
all right.
just sort of the normal course. And what we had was something called CCD, which is like Bible school. And it was like a Wednesday every week after school, something of that nature. And at some point around 5 or 6, I started to question what we were learning.
Okay.
I'd raise my hand and I'd ask the sister, hang on a second, today in class we learned about dinosaurs. And, my teacher said the dinosaurs came around 65 million years ago. That doesn't match up with this story of the earth being created in 7 days. Like, I was questioning everything. And I was getting in trouble a lot.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Those not the kind of questions you ask in Bible school.
Yeah. They were not impressed.
No. I can imagine. But there was a strong drive in you. And I believe it was something that you felt maybe that you wanted something, even though it was a great life, you wanted something better for yourself, because you won the honor roll. Did you play sports?
I did. I ran track. I played basketball. Yeah.
Wow. So you were definitely an all-rounder. Yeah. But then something shifted in your home at around 8.5 years old. What happened?
Yeah. A new man entered our life. And he didn't model what my dad had modeled.
Okay.
You see, I watched my dad basically parent a child that wasn't biologically his.
Sure.
But there was no barriers to that. He loved her the same as me. In fact, I used to get upset and say he loved her more than me.
Imagine that. Oh my goodness.
I was jealous of her because I thought he loved her more than me.
Oh no.
So I didn't understand this concept of step parents and not loving the child equally. Just didn't mean anything to me. And especially because my parents were in foster cares and orphanages where nobody had parents. So everyone was sort of just in the same situation together. So I had trouble sleeping as a kid, and I would always in the middle of the night go sleep, go to my mom's room. And all of a sudden her door started to be locked.
Oh dear.
And I couldn't go in there. And I'd come to do my normal, I'm going to come climb in the bed with you, Mom. What's going on? We have a routine here. And she'd say, go back to sleep, Maxine. And she wouldn't open the door. And one day my sister and I were walking down the street. We were at the, corner store getting some candy. And she said, there's a man in there, right? And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, yeah, there's a man in there. That's why mommy's not opening the door every night. Oh. And then I'm like, well, whatever. It's not a big deal. And she's like, no, it is. And she said, I'm warning you right now. He's going to come in our life. He's going to push us aside, and everything's going to change. And she warned me about it, and I thought she was being so negative and difficult, because me and my sister didn't have a good relationship. Ooh. So I thought she was just being mean. Yeah. Putting fear in me like she normally did. But in fact, everything she said was spot on. It's exactly what happened.
That's exactly as she said. Exactly. That's what happened. And because he became a major presence in your life, something used to happen during the summer. You went away to summer camp.
Yeah.
And then what happened on one occasion?
Sure. Well, actually, we should fast forward, because we found out, I actually don't recall ever meeting this man. So I can't pinpoint when I actually met him.
There was no introduction. Hello.
No, I cannot.
Kids, this is
or if it just isn't memorable. Like it wasn't, it wasn't done properly for me to have a memory of it.
Okay.
What I can vividly remember exactly the diner, the street, 9th Street and 5th Avenue. My mom took my sister and I, she sat us down, and she said, I have something really important to tell the two of you. And we're like, okay. And she was really dramatic about it. And I'm like, I thought somebody died or something. What happened? And she says, I'm pregnant. And the first words out of my mouth is, well, whose is it? Because I didn't. Yeah. I'm like, are you dating somebody?
It's not Dad's.
I don't know what does this mean?
Yeah.
And her response was, it's Jim's, of course. I'm like, who's Jim?
Look, oh no.
I don't even know who that is. So that's how it all started.
Oh my.
Wow. Yeah, it was like, my mom was pregnant. We didn't even know who the man was. So it didn't start well. There was no effort to get to know us. So then, yes, every summer we went to Maine for summer camp, sleepaway camp.
Okay.
We would go for 6 weeks. And they literally would get a yellow school bus and 10-hour drive a bunch of New York City kids
out to the country
in Maine. It was all part of the same after school. Some rich guy wanted to give back to underprivileged kids, because our parents only had to pay $100 for 6 whole weeks.
Whoa.
That was it.
And they took of everything.
And he paid for everything else. I think it was probably just to get commitment and names and numbers. It was like almost free. And so it was normal. We did this every year, and we went with our friends, and But this particular summer, when we came back, thought we were coming back, we had come back to a completely different home in a completely different state.
What?
Yeah. So while my sister and I were at camp, my mom and her new boyfriend, soon to be baby daddy, moved to New Jersey. Now that sounds like not a big deal. It is.
Of course.
It is when you're 9 years old. This is before Facebook, phones, like no internet, and for a New York City person, going 20 blocks seems like you live in New York. If you live, in one part of Brooklyn, you're like, oh, you live far away.
Yeah.
Another state, it just feels, it was a lot. And so and it was no warning. And remember, that neighborhood was everything to me.
Yes,
it was
indeed.
my foundation. It was my stability, especially living in a house with a woman who's very difficult to live with. So that was my solace, that community. And it was just ripped away from me with no warning.
Oh my!
I had no idea how I was going to see my friends from school. How would I let them know why they're not seeing me in September? I had no way to contact. I had no phone numbers, no addresses to write people.
Oh my goodness!
Completely ripped us away from our life.
Yeah. That's very traumatic. I mean, you think about it. You had no opportunity to say, you know what? I'm coming to a new place. Prepare yourself for this. Wow.
Yeah.
So, were you able to settle into the environment in any way?
It was hard. It took a while.
Yeah.
We never quite felt connected. The culture was different.
Indeed.
Like I said, we came from a very multicultural neighborhood to predominantly black neighborhood.
Okay.
So it just was a different vibe, different experience for us. It took some time, but eventually, I want to say like a year or two, we finally started to settle. I had like really good friends. We were starting to become New Jersey people, you know?
And New Jersey.
Yeah, we're from New Jersey. And, but then Sure enough, as soon as we get settled.
You go away to summer camp.
Yeah.
And what happens?
Happens again. So
oh my goodness.
We're settled now in New Jersey. I think now I'm in middle school or going into middle school. Like I said, I've got great friends. I'm on the school. Now I'm playing basketball in the schools. Like I'm really starting to get my foundation. And we go to a different summer school. So summer camp, not the one we went to in Maine.
No.
We went to one I think it was in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
But it was fine. We made, new friends, new experience. And once again, when we came back,
you and your sister,
me and my sister, we were in a completely different home. They had moved us again.
Oh my goodness, without even telling you.
Without telling us. They moved us again to a different state. Now this one now we're moved an hour and a half away.
Oh my goodness.
To Pennsylvania. Into a completely white neighborhood.
The opposite of where you were before.
Completely opposite of where we were.
Oh my goodness. Now Jim is white.
Jim is white.
Jim is white. Okay, so was this his hometown?
This was his hometown.
Okay.
A town called Doylestown, Pennsylvania, which is considered the suburbs outside of Philly, like 30, 40 minutes outside of. I've never been to Philly in my life. I know nothing about Pennsylvania besides his camp that he conveniently chose for us to go to. And it was, at least in New Jersey, it was considered the suburbs, but it still felt you could walk places. You had Amtrak or New Jersey Transit, I think it was called. So you still had quick access to New York, and now we were. You had to drive everywhere. You couldn't walk everywhere. It was just, trees and grass. It was like night and day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And that impacted, I'm sure, your relationship with your mom. And now you have siblings. You have other siblings.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was your younger sibling a boy? Girl?
The first one was a boy.
Okay.
Yeah,
and there were more after that.
Yeah, there was 2 more after that.
Okay. Okay. Now there's a lot of tension, I'm sure, in the family. But then your mom decided to go to work because she was a stay-at-home mom initially. Yeah.
Well, so Jim was her boss.
Oh. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So she wanted to continue working. She was working at a bank.
Okay.
He was younger than my mom. He's about 5.5, 6 years younger than my mom.
Okay.
And he was quite on his way to become a successful investment banker. Like you could see that pathway happening.
Right.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
That was an easy sort of play for him to invite your mom into space.
Correct.
They get married?
Well, it took a while for them to get married, and I think it was a money thing. So one thing you'll learn about my mom is she went through 20 years of financial abuse from this man. And it started quite early because when she got pregnant, his thing was, you don't need to work, I will take care of you.
Okay, right.
But what he didn't say was, I'm going to also take care of your 2 daughters, or at least my half of it. Because if you don't work, who's contributing to your daughters? They have their dad, but what's coming from your side? So you would have thought it was just obvious that he was going to contribute to us. But that's not what happened. Just as my sister had said, he completely excluded us.
He cut you out.
Completely cut us out, emotionally, financially, physically. I mean, it was just, he was like a stranger in our lives. And we were always separated from him and his children. And so my mom recognized that. And I think that might have been why when my brother was about a year old, she said, I'm going back to work.
Okay, all right, okay.
So she tried, we were living in New Jersey, so this is before we went back to we moved to Pennsylvania. My brother was about a year old, and she tried to become a teacher in Brooklyn and commute from New Jersey to Brooklyn, where she was a high school teacher.
But that didn't last long.
No, it didn't last even a year. It was so difficult for her commuting, as well as just like it was very traumatic to deal with high school. It was a really rough part of Brooklyn, and she would come home crying every day about how hard it was. Yeah.
So at 14, you made a decision to go back to your dad.
Yeah.
To live with your dad. And your dad lives in New York at the time?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was that like?
It was challenging because, this was the first time I realized there was some merit to what my mom was saying, in that I had to grow up really quickly because she said, your dad has only had to be the fun dad. And I remember when I had to go to the doctor, get your physical before school and set up your, files and all that. My dad couldn't fill out the form.
Oh.
And I was like, he doesn't know anything about me. Like, really know anything about me.
Right, yeah.
So while my dad and I had this great relationship, at that age, I had to grow up really quickly because moving in with my dad meant almost becoming like an adult.
Sure.
Because I now had to do these things for myself.
Yeah.
Because when he was a weekend dad, he didn't have to know.
No.
When was her last physical and what's her physical conditions and what is she allergic to? He didn't have to know any of that stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that gave you another window of a picture of your dad. But your dad used to take you on cruises. Because he still was very financially supporting in a grand way.
Yeah.
And what was one of those cruises that you went on?
I think I was my 13th birthday. It was around my 13th birthday. We went on a cruise, and at the time, my dad was, like I said, doing Daddy Warbucks. So he was like taking everyone in the family. It wasn't just like 5 of us; it'd be 10 of us.
Ooh.
He was very reckless with his money. He did, rags to riches. He didn't have any
the concepts of it. Yeah,
he didn't have any financial planning understanding. He didn't know what to do with his. No one ever taught him that. So for the first time in his life, he's had access to this kind of money and was just blowing it recklessly.
Wow.
So on this particular cruise, he told my sister, "You bring a friend, and you bring a friend, and you bring a friend." So we had like our friends with us, and it was a really fun cruise because it was like 5 teenagers, 5 of me and 5 teenage girls. It was really fun. And on that particular cruise, I met a young man from Bermuda.
Okay, look at that. Yeah.
I didn't even know what Bermuda was.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
No. So you met this young man, and basically that trip changed your life.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, this young man became and it was a 7-day trip, you said.
Yeah.
But because of the connection with this young man, you formed a very deep connection with him, and you were able to maintain a long distance relationship.
Yeah.
And how did you do that?
Writing.
Yes, okay.
At first, we were doing lots of writing.
Okay. This is slow mail, like snail mail? Or?
Snail mail, and then also, because back then you had to get phone cards.
Oh, yeah.
And they were expensive. Like $10 would get us like 20 minutes. I remember like blowing all my money to call him, and vice versa. I don't know how he would call me because if you had that in Bermuda, but we would have all the little phone cards, international calling back then, and we would do this for years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And so much so that you were balancing school, and you had a job. And you used to travel back on your own to come and see him in Bermuda.
Yeah, I was I had
very independent.
Very independent. I mean, like I said, when I got to live with my dad around 14, I had a different level of independence than any of my peers. And I remember thinking, like, I need to get a job. And luckily I would use my mom's address to the benefit. Like, I'd use my mom's address to get a Pennsylvania license because I could get it before most people. Yeah. I could get it at 16, or I could start working at 14. So I started working at 14.
Wow.
And I was saving. I bought my first car, and I was paying my own bills,
Look
like
at
my
that.
own car insurance and things like that. So when I was about 16, I said to my mom and dad, I'm like, can I just go to Bermuda myself? I'm paying the flight. I'm at the age where I don't need an accompanying adult on the plane.
Yeah.
Can I just go by myself? And they said, okay.
Wow.
And I kept coming and coming. I couldn't get enough of this island. I was obsessed with Bermuda. It was like, no, honestly, I would describing it. Yeah, to live in New York City at the time and to come in Bermuda. Remember, this is 22 years ago.
Yeah.
So remember Bermuda 22 years ago.
Indeed.
It's a different Bermuda than we have now.
Yeah, you're right.
And it was, I would go back home and talk about this oasis in the middle of the sea. It's just paradise. It's just
and
heaven on earth.
And your Prince Charming lives there.
Yeah, and it's heaven on earth. And I'd come here and I'd be planning the next trip. I'm like, I just want to go back.
Wow. Well, beautiful people, we've got Maxine Brown here. And if you're really into this story, it is just really, really captivating. And she's giving us an insight of what it was like to live in the city and then now taste a little bit of Bermuda. Now, you graduate from high school and you have this dream that you want to attend Boston University.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, unfortunately, I wanted to get into Ivy League.
An Ivy League, okay, all right.
And you couldn't tell me I wasn't going to get in. because I was a straight A student.
Okay.
I was president of the National Honor Society. I was captain of the basketball team.
Oh, yeah.
I was interning at Michael Kors. I was like all over the city. You know, I was that annoying, student who's like, her again. I got like some award from the chancellor in New York City. I was that.
Oh, wow.
I got a million awards from like the president of the school. So I was just in my head was blown up.
Yeah.
I'm going to Ivy League.
Yes.
And I didn't apply to Harvard, but I know I applied to Columbia and Brown, and I applied to all of them, and I just said, I'm going to get one of them. I didn't get none of them.
Ooh.
Yeah, I was rejected one after the other, after the other.
Wow.
And so I really, really liked Boston University. And I kind of had it as like a safety school. But when I went to visit, I fell in love with it. And so I thought if things don't really work out with the Ivy League schools, hopefully I get into Boston University because that's an amazing school.
Indeed.
And sure enough, I got in. And I thought, my future just looks bright. And I am so excited. And then when I went to my parents, now this is 2006.
Okay.
And this is the beginning of the financial crisis.
Oh, right.
And I don't know that my dad's been struggling for the last 2 years because he had been living this life, this Daddy Warbucks life for so long. He had to keep that facade going, and I didn't know. So here I am living with him from 14, 15, 16, and his company started to have problems the year I moved in, and he didn't want me to know. So he was hiding it as long as he could. And unfortunately, the year that I graduated high school was the year his business faltered.
Oh no!
He went bankrupt, and I had no idea.
Right.
Because I have my own job, so I'm paying. I buy my car. I'm doing my little cell phone bill. I don't know that my dad's world is crumbling because I'm sorting my little expenses out, and then Daddy's giving me $10 here and there for lunch. I don't know there's a crisis.
Okay.
But when I turned to my dad and said, "Well, I've gotten into Boston University." It was $38,000, which was like enormous.
Of course.
This is 20-something years ago. It was enormous. And I said, what are you going to contribute?
Yeah,
because
indeed.
Boston University did give me $5,000 scholarship. So I'm like, okay, we got 33 left.
Okay.
What you going to do? And that's when I learned, he's like, I don't got anything.
Oh, no.
I was like, well, hang on. We were doing cruising, and you didn't put anything away. There's no college fund. I just assumed my dad was
saving money.
Said, nope, I got nothing.
Oh, no.
And then I turned to my mom. At this point, my stepdad, it's the opposite. Now he's the millionaire. He's the one that's gone up. When they moved to Pennsylvania, they moved into a big house with a pool. And even though we could see that the man was making a lot of money, my sister and I were still not experiencing it personally because he was still treating us like outsiders. But we could see the wealth growing.
Yeah.
So then when my dad said that, I thought, well, that's tragic, but surely I'm going to be all right because my stepdad has all this money. So I'm going to, and my mom's not working, and because by choice that he's asked her not to work because he can support her. So I turned to them and I'm like, well, surely y'all are going to help me with.
Yeah.
No, Jim's not helping you with anything. So I'm on my own to pay $33,000 at 17 years old because I graduated at 17.
Okay. Wow.
And that was the position I was in. And I refused to get significant loans.
Right,
And I was angry with my parents.
Of course.
So I said, well, if none of you prepared properly, I'm not going to university. I'm taking time off to figure out what to do.
Okay.
So I enrolled and then I de-enrolled, if that's the right term.
Yeah.
From I was devastated.
Of course it would be.
I still. Yeah.
You still feel that sense of wow. But eventually you did go to university.
Yeah, so I took 6 months off working, trying to figure out what I'm going to do. And at the time, my mom's living in Pennsylvania. So I'm like, look, since y'all are not going to help me, I'm at least going to use your address so I can get state tuition.
Okay, right.
So instead of let me go to Penn State University, state school, it's not as prestigious as Boston University, but I thought I'll do okay there.
Right, yeah.
And now we went from 11,000 to 33,000 to like 10 or 11,000. Okay, now I can kind of sort of manage this.
Yeah.
I'm still frustrated that I even have to do this on my own.
Indeed.
Not because I don't need to learn how to take care of myself But because this man has so much money,
and you can see it and feel it.
I can see it. I can see how much they're spending on my siblings who are, 3 and 7 or 8 or 9.
Yeah.
Just ridiculous money for them on, trivial things. I'm thinking, like private school for a 5-year-old. Like, really, I'm in university. You would think that's better use of money.
That's your future.
Refused to give me a single dime. So I thought, I'm going to find a more cost-effective way for me to get to university. And that's when I went to Penn State University.
Okay. Now, Penn State was close to home. Mm-hmm. And at that time, the young man that you loved was also in America.
Yeah.
At that time. Yes. But he was somewhere else, a further state away.
He was in New England. He was in Rhode Island.
Okay.
Going to a sort of like a tech university.
Okay. All right. And you were sort of transporting back and forth to see
every weekend.
Oh my goodness! So this thing
I had a 1991 Toyota Tercel. That thing, it's my first car. I will never forget her because she rode every weekend a 7-hour drive. I would drive 7 hours on a Friday night just to be with him from Saturday to Sunday and then drive back on Sunday evening. 7 hours one way.
So now I wanted you to tell us in about, if you can do it in 3 minutes, this wonderful story of how you got accepted into Bryant University.
Okay. Well, it starts difficult because as excited as I was that he was in the U.S. and we were seeing each other, we were so head over heels, crazy in love. Unfortunately, he wasn't even in the country 6 weeks, and I got pregnant.
Ooh, yeah, that's what love does sometimes.
And when I say shock to my family, that's an understatement. Understatement. Because remember, I was this trophy kind of star child, never didn't get in trouble, and then all of a sudden, I'm pregnant. And my mother's initial response is like, not in my house. And you know what you need to do about that.
Right.
And I didn't agree with it.
Okay.
But the stance was very clear. You cannot bring a child in my house. So you're not welcomed here.
Okay.
So I had no idea what I was going to do. So I remember one week, it was Thirsty Thursdays. So the dorm is quiet. And I'm in my room by myself. My roommate's out. And I'll vividly remember because there was palm tree lights and it was dark in the room. And I thought, I need to pray. Now, remember, I'm still going through my own journey spiritually, trying to figure out what do I feel, what am I connected to. But I've always believed in a higher power.
Okay.
Always.
Okay.
And this particular night, I just decided I need to pray. And I jumped out of the bed onto the ground, hands up, knees on the ground, and I just wept. And I begged this higher power. I said, please help me figure this out. If you give me the answers to these very specific things, we're going to do a pact. If you figure these things out for me, I promise you I will keep this child. I will work my hardest, and I will be successful. So the things I asked for, you have to help me figure out school. You have to help me figure out how to pay for school.
Indeed.
You have to help me figure out how I'm going to care for this child.
Right.
You can do those things for me. Then there's no question around keeping, not keeping. We're moving forward.
Okay.
So a week later, it's spring break. I go to my mom's house for spring break. It's very tense between the two of us because she, now she knows I'm pregnant, and there's all this looming questions like, what are you going to do about this? And she says, you have a package from Bryant University. And I said, Bryant University in Rhode Island? She's like, yeah. I'm like, that's strange. Why would they be sending me anything? I applied to them last year. It was also one of my safety schools.
Okay.
Along with Boston, but I never heard from them. And it never dawned on me because I got into Boston. I didn't care anymore after I had...
Right.
And she said, yeah, it's a pretty thick package too. I said, okay. So I opened the package, and remember, this is 15 minutes away from my then baby daddy. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And I open it up, and the first thing it says is, congratulations, you've got accepted into fall of 2007. I never applied for fall of 2000. I applied for fall of 2006. So I was like, what?
Okay.
Then the next couple lines go on to say, and you have been granted a full academic scholarship worth $100,000. $100,000, which at the time was the amount of the tuition, so full tuition paid.
Now that's
there was no logical human. There's no logical human explanation for this, and I went on to actually work at that school and ask the vice president of admissions how this could possibly happen, and she said the hair on her arms was sticking up because she doesn't know how that could possibly happen. She's like, I run this department. I'm telling you that can't happen, and I was like. I prayed for a solution, and I got exactly what I got. A school 15 minutes away from him, fully paid for. And I slammed it down on the desk to my mom. I said, don't ever talk to me. I'm going to have to use this word. Sorry. Don't ever talk to me about abortion again.
Indeed.
Because that is off the table. This is the answer. I don't know how this happened. But I'm keeping this child. And I'm going to succeed. Yes. And I'm going to be everything you guys are telling me I'm not going to be.
Good for you.
Because I was told I'm going to be a statistic. I'm going to ruin my life. I'm going to be generational curses. My grandmother being a teen mom. I said, I'm going to prove all of you wrong. Watch.
I love that. Wow. I've got hair growing out of the back of my neck just hearing that story. And this is the second time I've heard it. Amazing. So you go on and you go to Bryant, and you and the young man eventually get married.
Yeah.
Okay, and you had this beautiful baby girl, and from all of that, one would think this is going to be great.
One would think.
One would think, because it's supposed to be. This is where a happily ever after comes. But it didn't quite go that way.
No.
You eventually came back to Bermuda, and things did not go according to plan.
No.
How would you describe that time?
It was really confusing because, God, the higher power, had answered my prayer. So surely this is the life I'm supposed to be living.
Sure.
So then why would you make it so complicated and difficult? And our marriage was really hard. It was really toxic and dysfunctional. We were entirely too young to be parents, to be husband and wife. And then to do that, working full-time. I'm going to school full-time. I'm working part-time.
What were you studying?
I was studying finance.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
I was getting 3 hours sleep a day. I was trying to cram in courses so I can graduate early. Just an enormous amount of stress.
Indeed.
Just enormous. It was obvious. I mean, any marriage is hard no matter what.
Indeed, of course.
But when you pile on being a young parent, and we're all the way in Rhode Island. His closest family member is a plane ride away in Bermuda, and my closest family member is a 5-hour drive. So it was just the two young kids trying to do this. I mean, it was tough.
It was tough,
and it didn't go well.
No, even coming to Bermuda, it didn't.
No, so we thought coming to Bermuda would be a great start right out of university. I got a job at PwC.
Okay,
one of the top public accounting firms, and we thought that would be a good place to start. Low income tax, and live with family, and get on our feet. And it was challenging.
Wow. So much so that you had to leave the relationship, and you prepared yourself for that in a very interesting way. And that took you back to United States. And by then you had 2 children. You had a little boy as well as your daughter.
Yes.
What was it like having to leave this relationship that you had been in for so long, and then take your children? How would you describe that?
It was scary, but it was also freeing because I knew that it wasn't a good place for me or the children to be in. And one thing I do thank my parents is that they figured out early on that we don't belong together. So I didn't grow up seeing violence and arguing and fighting and all kinds of things, and I made that promise to myself that my children wouldn't be exposed to that. And so there was a time at which I needed to not have them around that. And so it was really scary because I was starting over, and I literally came with 2 suitcases, 2 cats, because I had the 3-month-old kittens and the kids. Fresh, everything I left behind, everything. Because at the time, I just needed to leave, kind of a bit urgently, and I just needed to start from fresh. I had nothing, and I had never been so exposed like that. So it was scary. And once again, I was in a very vulnerable position. Like I felt like vulnerable, like I was when I was 18 and pregnant.
Wow,
I felt like that again.
Okay. What was your support? What was something that sort of geared you on? Was it your self-determination? Was it your love for the children? What was it that took you from that sort of sense of identity as a married woman, mother, to America, to live on your own as a single mother?
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting question because I still am trying to figure it out.
Okay.
Because really, people are always telling me you are so strong and resilient, but it feels like the norm for me. I don't know anything else. And I don't know if, unfortunately, because I've grown up always seeing struggle and survival, that is just innately how I am and how I think. And I didn't know anything else.
Right.
But I was just determined to ensure that my children had a better life, and they were not going to be a part of a generational curse. And it just that drive and that push to make it a better life for them just kept me going. It really did.
Yeah. So you came back. You came to the United States, and you didn't just rebuild. You thrived because you achieved more education.
Yes. Well, I actually did that before I left.
Okay.
So one of the things, and this is something I often talk about when I help, especially like when I talk to women's groups and women in certain vulnerable situations, I always tell people don't judge the woman because she hasn't left yet. My first question is, what is her dependencies? There's a reason that she hasn't left, and a lot of times there maybe is a dependency.
Sure.
So when I was carefully trying to craft my new future alone, I knew I'm about to embark on being a single mom with 2 children, one of whom it was pretty obvious early on he's got something going on because he had a very traumatic birth. He was premature, and I just knew something going on there. I couldn't figure it out yet. He wasn't diagnosed until he was 6, but I just knew there was something more than usual in terms of the caretaking that I'd need to do.
Wow. But you got your CPA?
So I told myself I can't leave Bermuda and go embark on being a single mom without my master's degree and without my CPA license. I have to get that done now.
Okay.
And I had a company, I was PwC, it was part of my contract.
Got it.
To get, to get all that done.
Yeah,
so I had to study for a CPA exam, be a mom. I mean, it was a lot.
And go through all the issues with the difficult marriage and what have you. Wow.
But I just have a drive that I just have it within me to it always kept me going through what I thought was normal. But when I speak to other people, they're like, no, it's not normal.
No.
So I made sure when I got back to New York, I had a job ready.
Okay.
I was making $20,000 more than I was going to make in Bermuda because I had just passed my CPA. So I was in a better position than a lot of women may have been without having that kind of educational background.
Right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there was a tragedy in the fact that the love of your life, who became your husband, he had a very tragic situation happened that impacted your children. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So about 2.5 years ago, he passed away tragically from gun violence. So his life was taken from him. My kids were only 11 and 16 when it happened. 3 days after my daughter's 16th birthday. So her birthday is forever tainted for her. It's difficult for her to enjoy her birthday because she's reminded 3 days later is the death anniversary for her father. Yeah.
Wow. That's tragic. And gun violence, we sometimes forget how impactful it is. It just not just in a sense it happens, but the continuation of it. The memory of it and all that's involved. So you have these 2 beautiful children.
Well, I have 3. I have a stepdaughter.
3. Okay. You have a stepdaughter.
I do.
Yes.
I remarried.
Yes. So tell us about this. You came back to Bermuda.
I did.
You came back.
Everyone's like, why would you come back here? So I was in New York for about 7 years, and I was working at Bank of America.
Okay.
And I was doing really well, like professionally, but that middle class, that's a hard class to be in because you're not making under an amount where you're getting all the support and programs and financial assistance, but you're not making enough that you feel it.
Okay.
So I felt like I was still kind of on this hamster wheel.
Okay.
And I was progressing at work but not really financially sort of getting off this hamster wheel. And then at this point, my son is diagnosed with he's neurodivergent. He's got some learning needs and also it's a pretty severe case of ADHD. And I was struggling with education, even in New York City with the public school. It just wasn't working out. He had his individualized plans. He had all these paras, and the boy still couldn't get to the alphabet. He was almost 7. He could not get to the alphabet. I'm like, this is not working out. And his aunt said there's a new school in Bermuda for kids with special learning needs. Why don't you come back here? And then I thought, well, this will allow my kids to get closer to their Bermudian family. They had been spending summers here with their dad and some breaks in between throughout the year. So they were still very close with their Bermudian family and visiting. But this would make it allow them to become truly Bermudian.
Right.
So I moved back here.
Not with 2 suitcases and a cat.
This time I still had to, exactly. This time I got the company that I started to work for. They gave me a little $5,000 moving expenses. So I got to ship some of my stuff from New York here, which is nice. And I was set up to have a really good job here in Bermuda and be able to now put my kids into private school. So the shift was starting to happen. Everything that I had fought for, that light at the end of the tunnel that I always believed was there, was starting to show. So we came back here, and then I met someone else.
Well, tell us about that, because I love a love story. So,
this man is just everything. He is. On my phone, I don't have hubby. I have my angel.
Look at that.
Because he is truly an angel in human form. I'm not exaggerating. We've been together almost 6 years, married almost 5.
Yeah.
And we've been through a lot in that time. Not just, obviously, my ex-husband's death, which affected all of us.
Indeed.
But we've been through tons of other things in that time. Our marriage was tested right from the get-go. And he has been so solid.
You have said to me, and this is something that was very interesting. You said you believe that, I'm trying to find the right words here, that he was manifested for you?
I don't believe it. He was. I'm going to tell you exactly what I did.
Okay.
So I realized that there was a reason I wasn't attracting this person in my life. The person I had envisioned, the relationship that I envisioned, is because I wasn't healed and I hadn't done the inner work.
Okay.
I mean, I achieved everything professionally, and on the surface level, everyone would think, wow, she's doing so great. But there was obviously something not all there inside.
Okay.
Because I was having these perpetual kind of relationship habits and experiences. Not all bad.
Right.
Just not what I was looking for. So I decided I'm going to start manifesting in a delusional way. Delusional in the sense that I envisioned this man as if he had already been here. And I started doing everything from writing him love letters. I even had a playlist called Manifest, and it was I would only watch love movies. I would only read love things. I would only listen to love music. I would run down the street and I would move over to the left a little bit because he was running along with me. And I would feel the energy of him running or hiking with me.
Okay.
And something said you'll bump into him on a beach. And I started going to beaches. If I told someone I'm doing this, they'd think, girl, you sound crazy.
Indeed.
But no, I was being told.
Yeah, the energy was pushing you toward this. And you were reaching out and it would come to you.
And in fact, my last love note I wrote, and this is a true story. The end of the note, I said, meet me where the ocean begins. And the next day, we met at the beach. So we actually that's like our quote. For our life. When we got married, we married on the beach, and we actually put inscribed in our wedding cake, marry me where the ocean begins. Because that's where the ocean begins is where our relationship started. There was a point in time, and I remember I'd be dating someone, and I would think, nope, this is not it. And I had friends be like, you sure you don't want to try that a little longer? He got like a boat. And I'd be like, no, girl, it's I know my husband is coming. He's coming. I need to move everyone else out the way, because when he comes, I'm going to know instantly. And it was love at first sight. It was instant. He knew. He said he went home that day and told his mom, I'm going to marry her that same day. And so it was just instant.
Wow. That's I love a love story. I absolutely love it. Now, Maxine, you've been doing some interesting work.
Yes.
Okay. But first of all, I want to talk about your dad, because you were about to embark on a trip.
Yes.
And so give us a little bit of insight in that, because that's exciting.
Yeah. So, as I told you, my dad is one of 12.
Okay.
And the reason he was orphaned, because I told you my grandmother died at 12, but I'm sure you're thinking, well, where was his dad?
Indeed.
The man he was told was his dad died when he was 8. He was murdered when he was 8.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. And the problem is, all my dad's life, he knew that man wasn't his father. He felt it. He looked different from his siblings. He acted different. He just knew, I'm different from them. They all had a similar path in life, and he just wanted completely, even though they were up against the same odds, my dad went a different way than they did. There was just something so he confided in me when I was maybe 10, 11 about this, and then when I was a teenager, he even more strongly would talk about it, and and then I finally said, Dad, I'm going to do something about this, because I'm going to start to research into this.
Okay.
I'm going to do a paper trail and try to figure out who your real dad might be, because you're convinced it's not a man named Frank Williams. You're convinced it's not him. And I traced as far as I possibly could, and then there was sort of I hit a road with the documentation. And so I said, Dad, you're going to have to take a DNA test. And a lot of old folks, they're not into that. They're not, especially brown and black people, they're not. And trying to convince my dad, I don't know how I did it. I convinced my dad to take the DNA test. And sure enough, not too long after he took the test, he got a text in the ancestry. I'm the one taking care of his account because he's not tech friendly. There's a message pops up that says, "Hi, our DNA says we're very, very close in DNA. That you must be one of my cousins, but I know all my cousins. But you look just like my Uncle Johnny. Can we talk?"
Yeah.
So we kept communicating with this man. Turns out this man is a world-renowned genealogist. So he figures it out. He's like, you look like my Uncle Johnny. The DNA says we're cousins. So I need to figure. He eventually figures out who my dad's biological father is. So we meet up with this man. We go to the restaurant, meet up with this man. We get there, and his name's Eric Jarvis. He's a world-renowned genealogist, right?
Okay.
We're in a restaurant, he's got binders all over the place. And we're like, what is this? And he starts to unpack and provide us with 200 years of documented history.
Way.
My father, at 60 years old, went from knowing absolutely nothing to knowing back down to the 1820s.
Ooh.
We could trace to our actual plantations that are enslaved.
How awesome is that?
And so we learned that my grandpa was actually in the first Black Marines, the Montford Point Marines in the 1940s in World War II. And because my dad is his only living child, he is going to be receiving this Friday a Congressional Medal of Honor.
Wow.
On behalf of... So it's just a full circle.
My goodness.
Yeah, it is so full circle. I'm like, my dad didn't know anything. And now we know everything. And now for him to be taking home this medal, and it's interesting because sort of the premise of your show, when we found out, my grandpa died in 1990. So he was alive.
He was alive
all these years that my dad was in and out of foster care.
Oh my goodness.
In homelessness. In fact, we found out he was a lawyer. He had an apartment on Park Avenue. And I thought my dad would be angry. Like, this man knew he had some kind of love child because he was married. And my grandma and him were kind of doing some dirty stuff they shouldn't have been doing because they were both married. Or going through divorces. I don't know what it was. But he had this other child. And yet, my father has found no anger. He feels complete. He's turned all of it into his pain into progress. He just is so happy to have answers. And this full circle to actually be getting this award on Friday, I mean, this story is just...
It's just amazing.
Yeah.
And I think, I'm listening to it now, that's your story.
Yeah.
Because if there's anything, the pain you have turned into progress for you.
I've tried.
For purpose. And congratulations to your dad and you. And you enjoy this moment. But I also want to talk about this new charity that has come about. So give us a quick roundup on that, because you're into this sort of progress of getting things, an advocate for mental health.
Yeah. So while I started advocating for mental health about 8 years ago while I was still in New York.
Okay.
Because while I was going through all that sort of ambitious work professional life, I was struggling a lot, suffering silently and not letting anyone know about it.
Right.
And I was performing well at work, so no one could tell. But at some point, I did sort of have like a breakdown, and I had to actually take some time off from work. I went through my own depression. A lot of that trauma was unresolved, and I didn't deal with it. And so that's when I started to speak out about mental health through my own lived experience. So I would speak at work, in the communities, work with organizations. So I've been doing that for years. So when I moved back to Bermuda, I didn't stop that work, and I started to continue working with the Ministry of Health. I've worked with other organizations, some corporates.
Great.
And through that, I connected with a research group, who last year were responsible for the Bermuda's first national youth mental health survey. So I don't know if you recall, but there was a survey done last year across all schools. It's the first ever one done in the region. And it was 76% of the student population, so really good data.
Yes,
Gets an understanding of how mental health is impacting our kids, and how we can then use that to create policies, programs. And so that group, that initial research team, some of them have now formed a charity called Island Mind. We just got charity status a couple weeks ago, and we're going to continue that work, that mental health research work, as well as youth mental health programs and other anti-stigma programs throughout the island. So I am it's continue to do it's volunteer work for me, but it's something I'm very passionate about, because now I've went from just speaker, telling my story to actually making programs,
making
and
a difference, and something that's tangible.
Exactly. So it's a really nice progression from that advocacy. I'll continue to do that. Because fighting stigma is really is the actual number one issue that prevents people from getting help.
Indeed,
so
always.
I will always continue talking about my anxiety, periods of depression. I have OCD. I will willingly speak about that. But the fact that I can now be a trustee on this charity,
interesting,
and sort of
that's so wonderful.
I'm so excited about it. So there's more to come. You're all going to hear about it. And
and when it's been said, we are advocates for mental health, getting us to a point where we can accept what we are. Many of our guests have mental health issues, and speaking to it to get the support. I did an Instagram reel that when I broke my foot, people were very happy to help to open the door for me, my ankle. And because I had crutches and whatever. So the physical was there, so I got the help. But sometimes the mental health you can't see, and it's you kind of have a balance. Like, do I help? Do I not? I stand off, but you're speaking and you're saying now that we're going to get statistics that are going to give us the numbers to help support these different programs. Who is Max today?
Who is Max today? She is, she's continuing to evolve, because I'm actually trying to figure that out. My eldest is going to be 19.
Yes.
So it's funny because I always tell people I'm turning 38, but I relate to women that are like 50s, 60s, starting to become empty nesters, because I had a child earlier than most people. So I feel very similar to women who are like reinventing themselves. And I'm in that phase right now where I'm trying to figure out what is the next phase for me. But I'm still someone who is very resilient and strong. And
definitely there, and that resilience, and you used it for yourself. You are resilient. You are strong. And I love the fact that you're.
But I don't want to be in the survival mode anymore. So
thriving.
I'm ready to step into a place where I rest. I want a lot of rest, and I want to start doing things that fill my cup. And I really want to explore my spirituality, because that's always something. That's something that's always been lingering for me. And when I've been the most successful in my life, where these very sort of divine things have happened, it's always not because I was not having issues in my life. It's because I was the most locked in spiritually.
Got it.
That's when those sort of magical things were happening. So when I get frustrated sort of with certain things in my life, I remind myself, and it's okay, I have grace. We all have periods like this. We can come and go, and we need to give ourselves grace. But I'm now recognizing, okay, Max, it's time to lock in again.
Yes. Reconnect. Find that.
So I'm trying to figure out what that is, and I want to do things that I don't, purpose. When I think about my ex-husband passing, it really started to make me think more than I probably should about my own mortality.
Indeed.
And so I'm really like, how much time do I got left, and how do I make that time really meaningful? So I'm trying to focus on that now.
Filling up your cup. Absolutely. Max, this has been, once again, a journey. This is the second time I've heard the story, but I'm still just as enthralled in it.
Thank you.
And, you've talked about parenthood, you talked about being a wife, a professional, being a woman, and you've navigated it so well. And it's an incredible story.
Thank you.
One that reminds us that even in our darkest moments, there's still a path forward. Your journey is a testament of resilience to the strength and it takes to break cycles.
Yes.
Indeed. And to the courage required to rebuild not just a life, but a sense of self. And I'm going to let my beautiful people know, I am sure tonight's conversation has been very powerful for you. And it's a reminder that you are not alone and that healing is always possible no matter where you are starting from. And so, beautiful people, I'm opening up the telephone lines for the next couple of minutes on Magic 102.7 FM for questions or thoughts for Max. Now is the time. The phone lines are open. You know the number, 297-1027 or 1-888-257-9086. If you don't call, I'm going to continue to talk to Max because I know that she has more in her plate. You're a very busy professional.
Yes.
How do you balance professional life with motherhood and new wifehood?
Yeah, I mean, it is hard because one thing that it wasn't a good, I wouldn't say habit, I needed to do it at the time, was I was kind of on my own, and I've made that, at one point I almost made it an identity.
Ooh,
I'm doing this on my own and I'm not asking for help.
Right.
And so now I need to ask for help.
I love it.
That's how I get through it.
Yeah.
It's being honest with my loved ones, my support, my village, and there's not a sign of weakness, and you don't need to take credit. It's like I need to ask for help.
Yes. So
that's how I've been able to get through.
Yeah, indeed.
Because I have a very busy job and yeah.
Yes, and you're taking on all these other wonderful...
I work at an insurance company. I'm head of internal audit. It's a lot.
Yeah. And you're still able to maintain that beauty and that smile and that happiness.
Thank you.
And I want to say thank you, Max, for being with us on this time.
Thank you for having me.
No.
You are such an inspiration to me as well. And your energy and the message that you send, it's so important. And I just want to thank you for doing that for us and our community.
Thank you. And I receive it. And I'm going to use a lot of that energy to continue on with It's Been Said and what we're doing.
Yes, ma'am.
So thank you, beautiful people, for listening in to It's Been Said. Everyone is born into their once upon a lifetime story, and we live to experience our happily ever after. What about you? Max has. If you have a story that you believe is uplifting, send me an email at itsbeensaid@gmail.com and we will get in contact with you. Thank you for you beautiful people for listening in, and you can now follow us on Facebook, It's Been Said with Cat Wade, and on Instagram, It's Been Said with Cat Wade. Next week is going to be just as special. We meet together every week to hear everyday stories of ordinary people who have overcome challenges, finding ways to cope and to live extraordinary lives, because as we say, a negative mind will never give you a positive life. So until next time, stay positive.
Bermuda Live on YouTube. Subscribe now.